What's going on, you guys? KD3 here, and oh god, man, I'm actually losing my patience with the vocal Persona fandom right now. I am actually like, I've had it up to here with some of y'all right now because what I'm seeing right now is absolutely disgusting. So we got this reviewer right here, all right? She reviewed the demo for Persona 3 Reload, and she had some concerns regarding the Persona 3 remake, and people dogpiled on her for having legitimate concerns about the game. See, this is how I know this is their fault and not mine, because I'm siding with Polygon. I usually never side with Polygon because I think some of their takes regarding games are very silly. But that's not the case today. Today, this is on the Persona fans. Y'all have tried my patience. This is ridiculous. We're gonna go through this right now, and we're gonna talk about this review because I've read it over already. I didn't see anything wrong with what this woman was saying. I don't get why people are so upset. This is actually crazy over some legitimate concerns. Anyways, let's get into this right now. We're gonna read this, and parts may be cut out because I just want to keep the relevant parts in. Whatever's not important, I'll probably filter it out. So let's see. On its face, Persona 3 Reload is such a tantalizing idea, bringing the series defining game up to the polish of Persona 5 Royal. See, I know this is, I already see Persona 5 Royal, so you already know people hate having other games compared to Persona 5 because of how well it did. So let's see. Allowing legions of newly converted Persona fans to experience what makes it so special. But after playing a small slice of the game at a New York-based preview event, I have some concerns. Namely about whether Persona 3 Reload might struggle to strike the balance between being an accurate remake while still upholding what players would expect from a modern Persona title. Now this right here, I already know this got so many people riled up, because when you talk about modern games, in most of the time, I can't blame people because I think a lot of modern games are not the best. Like they're good, but they're not great. They're just like generic, boring, easy, linear third-person shooters or whatever, and they're just not the best. But when it comes to modernizing Persona 5 did it perfectly. So I don't understand why people are so upset about having quality of life features come to a game that had very archaic things about it, like not being able to control your party members and being forced to date every woman in the game. Like what is the problem? What is the problem? Anyways, let's keep going, man. I'll say that some of these feelings sprang from my surprise that Atlas is choosing to remake the original version of Persona 3. See, this one I can side with the viewers on because I'm tired of people whining that the answer and FemC are not in this game. I don't know how many times I have to say it. The answer is trash. You hear me? The answer is trash. The story is amazing. Gameplay is not it. It needs to be taken out back, done, and remade into something that's actually playable. The answer will probably come back and it's going to be much better than when it was before. Before it was unplayable. Well, not unplayable, but it's not good. Near unplayable. And when it comes to FemC, like I said, I love FemC. I think she's a better character than MC, but we can live without her. Her not being in Reload is not a non-negotiable. You were asking for so much video game. Literally, you're asking for 2 whole video games in one thing and a 40-hour DLC? See, the only sell, or the only thing I can agree with in regards to the complaints, is that we're being charged $70. So I can see it from that point of view. We're paying $70. You better give us the whole damn game. But Persona 3 alone is enough video game. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have more. I'm just saying that even if they don't add it, we can live without it. Persona 3 is already so much of a game. See, this was before 2009's Persona 3 Portable got a playable female protagonist. Yeah, see, so she's complaining about no femc with her own social links and romance options. That has never carried into a later version of Persona, even as each version received a massive game-defining re-release that renders the original nearly obsolete. The cynical part of me wonders if they'll do the same thing with Reload, add in a female protagonist 3 to 5 years later in Persona 3 Reload Ultra Deluxe. Yeah, they probably will, which is unfortunate. But that seems like a recipe for fan frustration. And I'm gonna tell you like this. I hate it, but what did Todd Howard tell Bethesda fans about Skyrim re-releases? You want me to stop releasing Skyrim? You stop buying it. And to this day, people are still buying Skyrim. They respond to fan demand, man. You guys keep paying for this. This is what's gonna keep happening to you. The visual facelifts extend to the menus, which are updated with the same splashy treatment as Persona 5. Yes, it definitely looks like Persona 5, but it looks better in my opinion. And just because a game looks like Persona 5, people were losing their minds. They're like, oh my god, everything's gonna look like Persona 5. That's not a bad thing. Persona 5 looks good. If we went back to P3 and P4's, well, I wouldn't say their UIs are like super basic, but compared to 5, they look very basic. 5 is very flashy, very appealing. I don't see what the issue is with that. It just sounds like you're letting your emotional side get the better of your judgment because it's being compared to a game that you don't like because of how much praise it gets. When people say people hate Persona 5 because it's popular, they are absolutely correct, and that's literally the only reason. See, while still adhering to Persona 3's blue dominant color palette, seeing both the Tartarus entrance hall and the runaway monorail platform with new backgrounds and a higher frame rate was a treat, but both areas also were remarkably empty. See, this is a weird complaint because you're in the entrance of Tartarus. What do you want, like 20 shadows in there? Like, what do you want? You want treasure chests in there? What do you want in a monorail platform? Like, there's a narrow space. What do you want in there? Like, I did not understand this complaint. I thought this was kind of silly, but I don't know if someone could like explain to me, like, is there something I'm missing here? I don't think so. From what I'm seeing, this is silly. Tartarus is the genesis for Persona 4's dungeons, and is closer to Persona 5's repetitive memento stages rather than its complex palaces. But seeing its hallways rendered from a new perspective, more of an over-the-shoulder 3D rather than the original God's Eye view, made the contrast rather stark. There just isn't much going on in Tartarus. It's a twisted version of a high school with a few enemy shadows lurking, and the structure was so repetitive that I got turned around fairly easily. The train battle sends my party down long straight stretches with few visual distinctions and only a couple enemies per section. This hews very close to the original game, but is barren by modern standards. Persona 3 had less going on than later games in the series, but there is something much more striking about that lack of substance modernized. And I get what she's saying. Like, Persona 3, like, if you really look at it, it didn't have a whole lot going on in some parts of the game. And that's fine. She's just pointing that out. I don't see what's wrong with that. Persona 5, they improved on that. There was much more going on around you when you were doing things. They made the game much more appealing to the new audience. They want to see, flashy, cool stuff. I don't get what's wrong with that. It's very strange that people are very, mad about this. Combat presented me with a mix of old and new. Thankfully, the demo defaulted to letting me control the actions of each of my party members off the bat, which wasn't even an option in the entirety of the original Persona 3. The combat consisted of the same turn-based battles with easily navigable menus, another credit to Persona 5's new precedent. I noticed that physical damage was still divided into 3 types: strike, slash, and pierce, thank god, which was a system dropped by later games though. I didn't perform a baton pass, but was told by an Atlas representative that the feature has been added to battles. And Shuffle Time, the post-battle reward system where players must pick their desired loot from a card shuffling shell game, now simply allowed me to select the reward card I wanted. I don't want to extrapolate too much from my demo, because I didn't see any aspects of the daytime gameplay, the school, social links, or after-school activities, but one of my prevailing complaints when playing Persona 3 Portable's remaster was the lack of variety in its daily life segments when stacked up against other games. Will Atlas remain faithful to the core text, or add in the robust levels and activities and social links someone coming from Persona 5 will expect? Persona 3's story is dark and impactful, but it was originally told within the confines of certain gameplay conceits. I worry that the task of remaining faithful to the original will preclude the things I expect from a modern RPG. See, and I already know this probably like put Persona fans like in a tizzy, man, but she's telling the truth. Persona 5, I keep telling y'all, Persona 5 is the best game in the series. Persona 5 is the gold standard. This is not a debate, and it's easy to see why if you're not a hater. It's the most fun to play. They made dungeon crawling fun, a first in Atlas history. The metaverse palaces are so much better than Mementos, so much better than the TV world, so much better than Tartarus. There's so much going on in there. There's so much going on around you when you're taking on bosses, doing important story things. It's much more appealing to look at than 3 and 4. Of course, 3 is going to look empty compared to 5. What is the problem? It's still going to be good. Of course, it's going to get compared to Persona 5. Persona 5, if we're talking about base P3 and Persona 5, P5 was the better game. She's afraid they're going to keep things in P3 that could stop it from reaching its full potential. P3 dungeons like Tartarus not being like P5 dungeons was a concern of mine too, because I'm not saying I can't go back. The only dungeons I can say I can't go back to are Persona 4's dungeons, but I'm gonna be in Tartarus, and I don't mind Tartarus, but I'm still gonna be like, damn, those metaverse dungeons though, they're that much better. I'm sorry. Like, did y'all forget we're playing a video game here? I want to play a fun video game. And I enjoy P3, but I'll tell you right now, P5 is more fun to play. And it's easy to see why. I don't know why. Why do I have to keep saying this? Why can't you guys just accept facts? Like, y'all might prefer like P3 or P4 story and cast or whatever, but I'm talking about the video game. I'm not talking about the cast. I'm not talking about the story. And that's the problem with a lot of people today. Y'all forget that we pay for video games to play video games. If I want to focus on story and characters, I'll go watch anime or something. I want to play video games. P5 is the most fun Persona game in the entire series to play. There is no competition. There is no debate to be had. Sure, P3 and P4 excelled in other areas over P5. Like, I say Persona 3 is my favorite because you have to think about what you do before you do it. There's actual consequences for your action, whereas in P4 and P5, that is not a thing at all. P3 has a lot more depth to things, you know, like the 3 physical types. Personas, they had affinities for what skills they could inherit, so you couldn't just inherit anything you wanted. And when you got a skill that was super hard to inherit on that persona, it felt really good. Like things like that. But there were a lot of things in 3 that were very inconvenient that need to be fixed. And there were also things in P3 that were passable, like Tartarus. Tartarus is passable, but it could be better. That's all this reviewer is trying to say. There are parts of P3 Reload that could be better. That's why I said I wish they made the full moon operation dungeons like the metaverse dungeons, which probably won't happen, but if it did, I would have been so happy. But it's okay, I'm still gonna love P3 Reload regardless because I love the original. And y'all need to cut it out, man. Y'all are so bothered by P5. It's like, why can't you just enjoy your game? So, come on, man. Like, this is actually ridiculous. Anyways, I've said my piece regarding this. This is so ridiculous that we're out here attacking reviewers now for wanting a more enjoyable video game. Absolutely asinine. Anyways, I'm done, man. Peace.
And I'm out. Later, losers.